IGNOU MEG 05 solved assignment. We are going to cover the solved assignment of 2025 of MEG 05 Literary Criticism and Theory assignment. So quickly move to the question number 1. Question number 1 here is for 2025 IGNOU MEG 5 is explain and discuss Aristotle's view of literature as imitation. So move to the answer of these questions. Aristotle's concept of literature as imitations is central to his critical theory elaborated in his seminal work Poetics. He argues that all forms of art, whether painting, sculpture, music, or literature, are imitations of life. This imitation, however, is not a mere replication of reality but an artistic representation that seeks to capture the universal truths of human experience. The meaning of imitation in literature. Aristotle broadens the term imitation to mean more than replication. It is a recreation of life's essence through artistic expression. He argues that literature imitates. Number 1. Human action. Literature reflects the action, decision, and consequences faced by individuals, particularly in the dramatic forms like tragedy and epic poetry. Number 2. Human emotions. The portrayal of emotions in literature allows the audience to connect deeply with the characters and their situations, fostering empathy and understanding. Number 3. Reality and possibility. Unlike history, which records specific events, literature focuses on universal truths, presenting life not just as it is but as it could or should be. Aristotle believes that imitation in inherently creative makes it distinct from Plato's idea of art as an inferior copy of reality. According to the Aristotle, artists and writers do not merely mirror the world but interpret it, offering insights into human nature and the human condition. Imitation in tragedy and epic literature. For Aristotle, tragedy is the highest form of imitation in literature. He defines tragedy as the imitation of an action that is a serious, complete, and of a certain magnitude. In language embellished with artistic ornaments, tragedy imitates noble actions and evokes emotions of pity and fear in the audience. The process leads to catharsis or the purging of these emotions, which Aristotle sees as essential for emotional and moral refinement. Tragedy achieves this through several key elements. Number 1. Plot. The agreements of incident in a way that conveys the action and evokes emotional responses. Characters. The moral and ethical qualities of the characters which are imitated to elicit admiration or condemnation. Tragedy achieves this through several key elements. Diction, the use of language which imitates human speech and contributes to the beauty of the work. Epic literature such as Homer's Iliad and Odyssey is also a significant form of imitation which, while it shares some elements with tragedy, it differs in its length, use of narration and scope, often covering grand themes like heroism and divine intervention. 3 modes of imitations. Aristotle identifies 3 ways in which art and literature imitates life. Number 1. Medium of imitation. Literature employs language, rhythm, and harmony as its primary medium. In poetry and drama, these elements are crafted to engage the senses and emotions. Number 2. Objects of imitation. The focus of imitation is human actions, emotions, and experiences. Literature does not merely describe these but also explore their underlying motivates and consequences. Number 3. Manner of imitation. The mode of representation differs across genres. Drama enacts the events on stage, while epic poetry uses narration to present its story. The purpose of imitation. Aristotle argues that imitation has several and essential functions in human life. Humans are naturally imitative beings and learn through imitation from childhood. Literature taps into this innate capacity, using it to entertain, educate, or provide moral instruction. The purpose of imitation. Unlike Plato, who criticized art for its ability to mislead and corrupt, Aristotle emphasizes its ethical and intellectual value by presenting universal truths through imitation. Literature stimulates thought, fosters emotional growth, and helps individuals understand complex human experiences. Comparison with Plato's view. Plato viewed imitation in art and perspective as it represented an illusion of reality rather than reality itself. He relegated art of the lowest tier of his metaphysical hierarchy, arguing that it distracts from the pursuit of truth. Aristotle, however, reverts this claim by asserting that imitation is not a mere copy but reimagining of life essence. For Aristotle, art and literature have the power to reveal deeper truths and help people achieve a better understanding of themselves and the world around them. So the conclusion here is Aristotle's theories of mimesis elevates literature from a single imitation of life to an intellectual and creative endeavor. By imitating human actions, emotion, and possibilities, literature transcends reality, offering timeless insights into the human experience. Through tragedy, epic, and other forms, literature engages the audience on emotional, intellectual, and moral levels, making mimesis a cornerstone of literary criticism. Aristotle's defense of imitation against Plato's critique remaining a pivotal moment in the history of literary theory. So, the question number 2 is here. Do you think that Wordsworth established a new poetic theory? What are the main features of this theory? William Wordsworth, a leading figure of the Romantic movement, revolutionized English poetry with his groundbreaking ideas presented in the preface to Lyrical Ballads, 1798. His poetic theory marked a departure from a neoclassical tradition which emphasized formality artificially and reason towards a more natural, emotional, and individualistic approach to poetry. Wordsworth's ideas sought to redefine the purpose and style of poetry, making it accessible and relatable to common people. Establishing a new poetic theory. Wordsworth's poetic theory is indeed revolutionary as it is established poetry not as a medium reserved for the elite but as an art form that captures the beauty and profundity of ordinary life. His theory emphasizes the following. Number 1. The use of common language. Wordsworth advocated for the use of simple and everyday language in poetry. He rejected the highly ornate and artificial diction of neoclassical poets, urging that poetry should reflect the speech of ordinary people. This is evident in poems like We Are Seven and The Solidarity Reaper, where the simplicity of language enhances the emotional depth of the subject matter. Number 2. Focus on the nature and the common man. Nature plays a central role in the Wordsworth poetry, not just as a backdrop but as a source of inspiration and spiritual growth. He sought to portray the lives of rural people and the beauty of natural landscapes, as seen in Pattern, Abbey, and Makel. Number 3. Emotion as the soul of poetry. Wordsworth famously described poetry as the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. He emphasized that true poetry arises from deep emotional experiences relocated in tranquility. This reflective process allowed the poets to capture both the immediate emotions and its broader significance. Number 4. The poet as a seer. Wordsworth saw the poet as someone with heightened sensibility capable of perceiving the extraordinary in the ordinary. The poet's role is not just to observe but to interpret and convey profound truths about life, nature, and humanity. Number 5. Rejection of neoclassical rules. Wordsworth broke away from the rigid adherence to rules and conviction characteristics of neoclassical poetry. Instead, he campaigned creative freedom and the expression of individual experience. Key features of Wordsworth's poetic theory. Number 1. Decolorization of poetry. Wordsworth believed that poetry should appeal to all people regardless of class or education. By focusing on universal themes and accessible language, he made poetry more inclusive. Number 2. Emphasizes on imagination and institution. In contrast to the rationality of neoclassical, Wordsworth valued imagination as a means of exploring the deeper layers of reality. Number 3. The role of memory. Wordsworth's concept of recollection in tranquility highlights the importance of memory in poetic creation. Memory allows the poet to revisit emotions and experiences, imbuing them with a reflective quality that deepens their meaning. Number 4. Connection between man and nature. Wordsworth viewed nature as a teacher, healer, and source of spiritual enlightenment. The idea is central to his philosophy, as seen in the prelude where he reflects on his personal relationship with nature. Number 5. Simplicity and universality. By focusing on the lives of ordinary people, the universal emotions, Wordsworth sought to create poetry that resonate with the everyone, transcending time and place. Conclusion here is Wordsworth's poetic theory represents a profound shift in the understanding and practice of poetry. By emphasizing simplicity, emotions, and a deep connection with nature, he redefined poetry as a medium of exploring the human condition. His ideas laid the foundation of the Romantic movement and continue to influence poetics to this day. Now move to the question number 3. Write a short note on the following. A. Rasa. B. Catharsis. C. Postmodernism. D. Women's as other. So we are going to write the answer, and number 1. A. Rasa. Rasa is a key concept in Indian aesthetics, particularly in the context of classical Sanskrit drama and poetry. The term rasa literally means essence or flavor, and it refers to the emotional experience or aesthetic flavor that a work of art elicits in the audience. The concepts are rooted in Bharata Muni Natya Shastra, where he outlines 8 primary rasas, and they are like number 1 Shingara, number 2 Hasya, number 3 Karuna, number 4 Rudra, number 5 Veera, Bhayanaka, Vivatsa, Adbhuta. Shingara means romantic love, Hasya means laughter, Karuna for compassion, Rudra for anger, Veera for heroism, Bhayanaka for fear, Vivatsa for disgust, Adbhuta for wonder. Here are 8 rasas. So, these emotions are brought to life through a combination of acting, music, dance, and a poetry which invoke a particular emotional response in the audience. The ultimate goal is to elevate the audience's emotional states, creating a deep connection with the art of form. So, B. Catharsis. The term catharsis, introduced by Aristotle in Poetics, refers to the emotional purging of cleansing that an audience experiences through the watching of a tragic play. In the context of tragedy, catharsis occurs when viewers feel intense emotions such as pity and fear while witnessing the downfall of protagonist, followed by a release of these emotions at the play's conclusion. B. Catharsis. Aristotle believed that this emotional relevance was beneficial for the audience, leading to a sense of emotional balance and moral clarity. Through catharsis, the audience becomes more attentive to the human condition, as the tragedy often explored themes of fate, hubris, and moral consequences. Catharsis is central to the experience of classical tragedies such as Sophocles, Oedipus Rex, and Euripides' Medea. C. Postmodernism. Postmodernism is an intellectual, cultural, and artistic movement that emerged in the mid-20th century as a reaction against the ideas and values of modernism. Postmodernism is characterized by skepticism towards grand narratives, universal truths, and objective reality. It challenges the ideas of a fixed meaning, of singular interpretations of text, and instead embrace ambiguity, fragmentation, and plurality. C. Postmodernism. We are going to cover the key features of postmodernism include intertextuality, the idea that texts reference and influence each other, making it difficult to isolate a singular meaning. Metafiction, works that draw attention to their own fictionality, often blurring the lines between reality and representation. Irony and parody. Postmodern work often employ irony, humor, and parody to deconstruct established norms and convictions. Pluralism and reality. Postmodernism emphasizes the reality of truth and the existence of multiple equally valid perspectives. Some influential postmodernism writers include Thomas Saikon, George Louis Borges, and Jean-Paul Sartre. D. Woman as other. The concept of woman as other was popularized by French existentialist and feminist philosopher Simone de Beauvoir in her seminal work, The Second Sex, 1949. The Beauvoir argues that women have historically been defined in relation to men, who are seen as a norm or the self, while women are cast as the other. These binary oppositions marginalize women, reducing them to an inferior secondary status. The Beauvoir critique how social structures, culture, and religion have constructed women as an object of desire, subjugation of exclusion from the public and intellectual spheres. The phrase woman as other signifies that women are not regarded as autonomous beings but are defined by their difference from the male norm. This concept has been foundational in feminist theory, infusing later feminist thinkers like Judith Butler and Bell Hooks, who continue to explore the power dynamics of gender and identity. Now move to the question number 4. So how literary criticism and theory have developed a materialistic dimensions based on Marxism. Marxist literary criticism, rooted in the ideas of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, approaches literature through the lens of historical Marxism. It examines how literature reflects, reinforces, or challenges the economic and social structures of its time. Marxist theory emphasizes the role of class struggle, ideology, and material conditions in shaping cultural productions, including literature. Over time, Marxist criticism has evolved to incorporate a variety of perspectives from classical Marxism to more nuanced forms like culture Marxism and post-Marxism. Development of materialistic dimensions in literary criticism. Foundation of Marxist literary criticism. The materialistic dimensions of Marxism stems from its focus on the leadership between base economic structure and sculpture, culture, politics, and ideology. Base and superstructure. The base modes of production determines the superstructure, and literature as a part of the superstructure reflects the underlying economic relations ideology. Marxist critics analyze how literature serves as a vehicle for ideological dimensions, other repudiating the dominant classes' interests while marginalizing other. For example, Carl Dickens' hard time critiques in industrial capitalism and its dehumanizing effects on the working class, reflecting Marxist concerns about class exploitation. Number 2. Literature as reflection of class struggle. Marxist criticism views literature as a product of its historical and social context, often shaped by class struggles. Writers conscientiously or unconsciously express the tension and contradictions for their time. Marxist critics highlights how literature portrays the exploitation of the bourgeoisie and the struggle of liberation. For example, George Orwell Animal Farm addresses the Russian Revolution, exposing how power dynamics and material conditions influence political system. Number 3. Cultural Marxism. Raymond Williams expands Marxist criticism by introducing cultural materialism, which examines the interplay between culture, materials, condition, and history. William argues that culture is both shaped by and actively shapes the economic base. He emphasized the importance of examining literature not just as a reflection of class struggle, but as an active agent in cultural transformation. For example, Shakespeare's plays, reinterpreted through cultural Marxism, reveal how Leninist ideology reflects and how reinforced feudal and capitalistic value. Number 4. Frankfurt School and ideology critique. The Frankfurt School, including thinkers like Theodor Adorno and Herbert Marcuse, developed a more critical and interdisciplinary approach to Marxist literary theory. They examined the commodification of culture under capitalism and its role of maintaining social control. Literature was analyzed for its potential to resist or reinforce the status quo, with an emphasis on the concept of false consequences. For example, Adorno critique of mass culture highlights how popular literature and media reinforce capitalistic ideology, distracting the working class from their operations. Number 5. Post-Marxism and modern perspectives. Contemporary Marxism criticism incorporates insights from other schools of thoughts, including feminist, postcolonialism, and postmodernism. Intersectionality. Modern Marxist critics consider how class intersects with gender, race, and ethnicity in shaping literature. Global capitalism critics analyze how globalization and neoliberalism influence literary production and representations. For example, Arundhati Roy's The Good of Small Things explored how class, caste, and gender interacts under the shadow of colonial and capitalistic system. Key contributions of Marxist literary criticism. Number 1. Demysatisfying ideology. Marxist criticism exposes how literature perspectives or challenges dominant ideologies. Number 2. Highlight class dynamics. It underscores the significance of economic and class relations in shaping literary themes, characters, and conflicts, revealing power structures. It focuses on how literature reflects and critiques power hierarchies in society, promoting social change. By uncovering the ideology underpinnings of literature, Marxist criticism seeks to inspire revolutionary change. Now, the conclusion here is Marxist literary criticism has profoundly influenced the study of literature by emphasizing its materialistic dimensions. It goes beyond aesthetics application to integrate the socio-economic and ideological context in which literature is produced and consumed, from classical Marxist interpretations to modern interdisciplinary approaches. Marxist criticism contributes to offer valuable insights into the relationship between literature, power, and society. So the question number 5. Draw the ideologies set forth by Mary Wollstonecraft and Virginia Woolf as pioneer feminists. Mary Wollstonecraft and Virginia Woolf are two of the most influential feminist thinkers who laid the foundation of modern feminist theory. Though they belong to different historical and cultural contexts, their work challenged patriarchal norms and advocated for women's equality in education, rights, and intellectual freedom. Wollstonecraft, A Vindications of the Rights of Women 1792, and Woolf's A Room of One Once on 1929 remain landmark texts in the feminist thought addressing both systematic and cultural barriers to gender equality. Mary Wollstonecraft ideology. Number 1. Education as a tool for equality. Wollstonecraft argued that women's intellectual inferiority was not inherent but a result of their lack of access to education. She emphasized the need for co-educational system where men and women could learn together, advocating for women to be seen as rational beings. Number 2. Rejections to gendered virtues. Wollstonecraft criticized the social notion that women's worth lay in beauty, charm, and submissiveness. She called for women to cultivate virtues like reason, strength, and independence, which were traditionally reserved for men. Number 3. Equality in marriage. She viewed marriage as a partnership between equals where women should not be reduced to mere dependents. Wollstonecraft emphasizes the economic and emotional autonomy to women within the institution of marriage. Number 4. Critique of patriarchy. Wollstonecraft highlighted how patriarchal system and cultural practices limited women's potential. They advocated for systematic change to enable women to participate fully in public and intellectual life. For example, from her work, in A Vindication of the Rights of Women, Wollstonecraft writes, strengthen the female mind by enlarging it, and there will be an end of blind obedience. Virginia Woolf's ideologies. Number 1. Economic independence. Woolf famously argued that a woman needs a room of her own and £500 a year to write fiction. She linked fictional independence to intellectual freedom, asserting that women cannot create art or literature if they are economically dependent on men. Number 2. The ordinary mind. Woolf proposed the idea of an organized mind which combines both masculine and feminine quality, allowing for a more balanced and creative expression. She rejected rigid gender binaries in favor of intellectual fluidity and collaboration. Number 3. Critique of women's operations in literature. Woolf analyzed the portrayals of women in literature, exposing how male writers often depicted women as an object rather than a subject. She highlighted the absence of female voice in the literary canon and argued for the inclusion of women's perspective. Number 4. Legacy and continuity. Woolf emphasizes the need for women to create a tradition of their own in literature and art. She encouraged future generations of women to reclaim their voices and spaces in intellectual and creative fields. For example, from her work, In a Room of One's Own, Woolf imagines the life of Shakespeare's hypothetical sister Judith to highlight the systematic barriers faced by women in creative pursuits. It's be like here, comparison of their ideologies. Here are suspects, here are Mary Wollstonecraft, here are Virginia Woolf. So aspect focus, education and racial equality, intellectual freedom and economic independence by Virginia Woolf. And what are the views on patriarchy of Mark Wollstonecraft? Systematic critique of social institution. And what are the views of patriarchy of Virginia Woolf? Cultural critiques of literary and artistic norms. Now, the goals for Mary Wollstonecraft, women as rational beings in society, and what are the goals for Virginia Woolf, women as creators and participants in culture. And the method for Mary Wollstonecraft, advocacy for legal and educational reform, and for Virginia Woolf, exploration of identity through literature. Now move to the next. Legacy and influence. Wollstonecraft, her work inspired the suffragette movements and later feminist thinkers like John Stuart Mill and Betty Friedan Woolf. Her idea about gender identity and creative resonate with modern feminist and postmodern theories, influencing thinkers like Simon and de Beauvoir and Judith Butler. So the conclusion here is, Mary Wollstonecraft and Virginia Woolf, though separated by more than a century, shared a vision of a world where women are valued for their intellectual and creativity. Wollstonecraft focuses on education and rationality, complements Woolf's emphasis on economic and artistic freedom. Together, their ideologies provide a comprehensive framework for understanding and addressing gender inequality, making them pioneers in the feminist movement. So, thanks for being here. Like, share and subscribe and comment below on which topic you need our next video. I'm tired now. I'm going. Bye-bye.